All right, let's dive into this Mindfulness in the Workplace book, huh? Productivity and Peace. That's the subtitle, right?
Yeah.
By Aneli Aya.
That's the one.
So we're going to, figure out, hopefully, how mindfulness can like make our work lives better, less stress, maybe get more done. Who knows?
Well, I think that's exactly what an LAI is going for here. I mean, think about it like the modern workplace, right? It's kind of like a recipe for stress, isn't it?
Hmm.
Deadlines, emails, you're always connected, always on end,
Well, tell me about it.
Yeah.
And that's where mindfulness comes in, I guess. I mean, that's what the book's saying, at least. Being present, aware of thoughts, feelings, all that, but without, like, judging yourself for them. Easier said than done, though, right?
Well, that's the practice, isn't it? And what's really cool is the book doesn't just say, hey, this feels nice. It actually gets into the science behind it.
The science. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's, like, actual proof this stuff works.
Oh, yeah. Like, neuroplasticity. Basically, our brains can change, rewire themselves, and mindfulness, it actually like strengthens the parts that help us deal with stress, regulate emotions.
Well, hold on. So you're saying, like, just by paying attention in a certain way, I can actually change my brain structure.
That's what the research is showing, yeah. It's pretty wild, like stress hormones, cortisol, all that mindfulness can help lower those levels, and the more you practice, the more these changes become, kind of permanent.
Okay, that's pretty amazing, gotta admit. But, like, I'm already swamped. How am I supposed to find time to, I don't know, meditate for an hour every day or
Well,
whatever?
that's a common misconception. The book actually talks about that, how people think mindfulness is this big, time-consuming thing, but it doesn't have to be.
Really? So, like, what? I can just, like, take 5 minutes here and there.
Exactly. Like breath awareness, just noticing your breath right at your desk, or uh, body scan, paying attention to how each part of your body feels, even just like a mindful walk around the office during a break.
Hmm. Okay, those do sound pretty doable. But does that really, like, make a difference? I mean, for time management and all that? Because that's a struggle too, you know?
Oh, it totally can. The book talks about this idea of mindful time management.
Mhm.
Like instead of constantly multitasking, jumping between a million things, you use time blocking. So you dedicate like specific chunks of time to certain tasks.
Oh, okay. So instead of letting the day control me, I'm, like, taking back control.
Exactly. And when you're focused on that one task, you're fully present with it.
Yeah.
No distractions, no mental clutter. And guess what? You end up getting way more done. And probably with less stress, too.
No, I'm starting to see the appeal here. But meetings, though, those are like the ultimate productivity killers. Can mindfulness really help with those?
Absolutely. There's a whole chapter in the book on mindful meetings. Like, imagine this. Instead of everyone rushing in, stressed and distracted, the meeting starts with a check-in round.
A check-in round. What's that, like some kind of icebreaker thing?
Yeah. It can be, yeah. But it's more about, like, creating a space for everyone to arrive,
Yeah.
to share how they're feeling, what's on their mind. So you're not just jumping right into business. You're connecting as humans first.
Hmm. That's interesting. So it's like by acknowledging everyone's, I don't know, mental state or whatever, you're
Yeah.
setting a different tone for the whole meeting.
Exactly. It creates this sense of presence, I guess you could say. And when everyone's more present, they're more likely to listen, to collaborate, And some leaders even incorporate like a mini mindfulness practice, like a minute of guided breathing or something, just to help everyone get grounded before diving into the agenda.
Whoa, okay. So this mindfulness thing, it's not just about, like, sitting on a cushion and meditating. It's actually pretty practical, huh? Like, you can use it in all these different parts of your work life.
That's the beauty of it. And we haven't even gotten to the leadership stuff yet, like how mindfulness can change the way we lead and manage
Oh,
teams.
yeah, that's got to be a whole other can of worms,
I
right?
know.
But sounds like we've got a lot more to unpack here.
We were talking about mindfulness in different parts of work life. Like there's this whole chapter about mindful communication, how we talk to each other.
Oh, right. Like being more uh, thoughtful with our words
Yeah.
instead of just blurting stuff out, I guess.
It's more than that, actually. Mindful communication is like really listening to someone, not just hearing the words, but picking up on their emotions too, like what's not being said out loud.
So it's almost like being more aware of the whole vibe of the conversation instead of just focusing on, like, getting your own point across.
Exactly. And that can make a huge GE difference, especially in like tough situations. Say you're dealing with a difficult coworker, right? Instead of reacting defensively, you try to understand where they're coming from, respond with empathy instead of anger.
Okay, that makes sense. But, like, how do you actually do that? Does the book give specific tips?
Oh, yeah, tons. There's this thing called mindful listening. You focus all your attention on the other person, no interrupting, no judging, just letting them fully express themselves before you even think about your response.
Hmm, that sounds tough. Like the queen of interrupting, gotta be honest.
We all have our habits, right? But the book also talks about using I statements. So instead of blaming someone like, you always do this, you say, I feel frustrated when this happens. It's about owning your feelings instead of attacking the other person.
Okay, I can see how that would be less explosive. But what about all the like digital communication we do these days? Emails, Slack, all that. How does mindfulness fit into that?
The book actually has a whole section on mindful technology use. It's about recognizing how much technology can take over our lives and then setting boundaries so it doesn't control us.
Oh man, tell me about it. I feel like I'm constantly checking my phone even when there's nothing important.
Right. And that can be so draining. The book suggests things like, being more aware of your habits, like noticing when you're mindlessly scrolling through social media, for example.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that.
That's
Especially when I'm supposed to be working on something else.
exactly. And then, once you're aware of those habits, you can start setting limits. Maybe you decide to only check emails at certain times of the day, or you create, tech-free zones in your
Hmm.
home where you don't use any devices.
Hmm. Those are good ideas. But what about like the bigger picture? I mean, work-life balance and all that. Can mindfulness help with that too?
It totally can. There's a chapter on mindful work-life integration, and it's not about perfectly separating work and personal time, because let's be real, that's almost impossible these days.
Oh, I know that feeling. I feel like I'm always on, even when I'm not technically working.
Right. So it's more about being fully present wherever you are. If you're at work, be focused on work, but when you're at home with your family, put the work stuff away and really be there with them.
Okay, yeah, that sounds ideal. But how do you actually like switch gears like that? I feel like my brain's always going a million miles an hour.
Well, the book talks about creating rituals or routines that help you transition between different parts of your life. Like maybe you take 5 minutes before leaving work to, just sit and breathe, clear your head, or you schedule specific times for family activities so you're not always tempted to check work emails.
Those are good ideas.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, I'm still kind of skeptical about all this. I mean, it sounds great in theory, but are there really like downsides to mindfulness? Or like obstacles that make it hard to actually do it?
All right. So, 10 key takeaways, right? From our mindfulness deep dive. Ready.
Hit me with a pen and paper at the ready.
Okay, number one. Mindfulness, at its core, it's about being present, truly aware of what's going on in your head, your heart, without judging yourself for it, just noticing.
Noticing. Got it. What's next?
Number two, this isn't just some woo-woo stuff. There's actual science backing this up. Studies show mindfulness can, literally change your brain. Less stress, better focus, all that good stuff.
Okay, that's good to know. So what's number 3?
It's not about spending hours meditating in a cave. There are tons of little ways to bring mindfulness into your day, like noticing your breath for a few minutes, or doing a body scare where you pay attention to each part of your body. Even just walking mindfully during your lunch break can make a difference.
See, now those are things I can actually do. What's number 4?
This one's for the leaders out there. Mindful leadership. It's about creating a space where your team feels safe, supported, leading with empathy, being self-aware.
Makes sense. What's number 5?
Mindful communication. This one's huge. It's about truly listening to someone, not just waiting for your turn to talk. And it's about expressing yourself clearly, but respectfully. Less drama, more understanding.
Communication is key, that's
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, what's number 6?
This one's all about technology, mindful technology use. We're also glued to our screens these days, right? So
Yeah.
it's about setting boundaries, creating tech-free time, not letting those devices run your life.
So true.
Hmm.
I need to work on that one. What's number 7?
Work-life balance, or work-life integration, I guess they call it now. It's not about separating work and life completely, because let's face it, that's tough these days. It's about being fully present wherever you are. So when you're at work, you're focused on work. But when you're home, you're truly home.
I like that. What's number 8?
Mindful meetings. Sounds like an oxymoron, right? But trust me, there are ways to make meetings less soul-crushing. Starting with a check-in round so everyone feels heard. Practicing mindful listening, it can really change the whole dynamic.
I'm willing to try anything at this point. What's number 9?
For anyone who's still skeptical about all this mindfulness stuff, the best way to overcome that skepticism is to experience it for yourself. Try it out, see how it feels. You might be surprised.
Fair enough. What's the last one? Number 10.
This one's important, especially for leaders. Creating a culture where people feel safe to explore mindfulness, where it's not seen as weird or, fluffy. That's how you make it stick long term.
Awesome. Those are some great takeaways. Really makes you think. Before we wrap up, though, anything else that stood out to you from the book? Like maybe something that wasn't directly said, but like a bigger idea that came up for you?
What really struck me is the book talks a lot about the benefits of mindfulness, right?
Ah,
And that's great. But I think it's important to remember that mindfulness isn't about being perfect. It's not about never getting stressed or, always having a perfectly clear mind.
yeah, that's a good point. I think sometimes people get intimidated by that. Like they think they have to be some kind of Zen master to do mindfulness.
Exactly. And that's not it at all. It's more about like noticing when your mind is racing, when you're feeling stressed, and then just like gently bringing yourself back to the present moment over and over again.
It's a practice, not a destination, right? And that goes for creating a mindful workplace, too, I think. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you keep working at it, keep encouraging those little moments of mindfulness,
Mm,
it can really start to shift the whole culture.
absolutely. It's about creating that space where it's okay to not be perfect,
Yeah.
where people can be themselves, bring their whole selves to work, even the messy parts.
I love that. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Remember, mindfulness is a journey, and every step counts. So start small, be kind to yourself, and see what unfolds.